Hey, do you remember that the first video on this channel was actually a movie review? No? I do. What's up guys, I got the pencil here, and here we are to review Wonder Woman 1984. Now, I know this seems out of nowhere, out of left field, but one, I don't have anything else to review this week, and two, I just really want to talk about this movie. I've always been a fan of superhero movies, I've been a fan of superhero comics, and man, I wanted to talk about it again anyway, so here I am. Anyway, Wonder Woman 1984, we're going to split this review into three parts: our heroes, our villains, and then the plot. I'm going to air my praises and grievances within all of those, so don't worry, I'm about to hit everything. At least everything that I think is worth hitting. So let's hop right into the heroes. By the way, spoilers for the entire movie. I'm not holding back. Now, the movie has two main protagonists, and that would be Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman and Chris Pine's Steve Trevor. These are two main protagonists, and let's talk about Gal Gadot. I think Gal Gadot is a great actress. I think she's very, very good at certain roles. I think she does fantastic in roles where she's either a fish out of water or simply a being not from the time period that she's in. If she works better in a more distant area than she does here and now, or in a more modern setting, when she's supposed to be something mysterious, Gal Gadot can sell that really, really well. What I think Gal Gadot fails to sell in this movie is the idea that she is part of her time period, that she is logistically from there, and I'm supposed to believe that. I don't. That's the issue, and that's the main thing with acting. It's hard to, especially when you get used to a role, playing a type of role, it's hard to shift suddenly. And honestly, I just don't think Wonder Woman was cast in the proper role, but I understand why she was put there, because she's lived with humanity for so long that she's supposed to be this, but Gal Gadot couldn't sell it. And this is not to say that she fails at everything, and I'm not even saying she fails, she just did a okay to slightly subpar job when it comes to acting out that, oh, I'm the guide and now Chris Pine is the fish out of water. I feel like she does great in her action scenes. She does great when anything emotional is supposed to be happening, like when she gives up Steve, she renounces her wish. I'm like, hey, there's some good acting right there. There we go. I bought it. However, there are times throughout the film where I'm like, this does. I'm going to talk about in the plot section, but there are times within the film where I'm like, this didn't have to be here, and or Gal Gadot, you're not buying me. Like I don't get it. And the sad thing is, a lot of that I don't buy it is in the early parts of the movie where we're setting up Gal Gadot as a hero, or not necessarily a hero, as a regular person. And this movie has a whole lot of setup, so seeing her like this for such an extended period of time makes me like, I don't know, I don't think it's that good. And I'm gonna talk about the plot separate, so I'm just gonna say the protagonist fine. She does a passable job. I'd say her great moments balance out with her less than great moments, so it's a relatively good performance from Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. I think that's perfectly fine. Who knocks it out of the park? Obviously, Chris Pine. I don't know how the man does it. He's just great at what he does. That's it. Like, man, the man's an actor. Like, he flipped from fish in water to fish out of water so darn quickly. You could fool me, golly. I didn't. Man, it was just a great performance from him. I think it's because he was allowed to have a bit more fun. In the last movie, he was the fish in water. He was the guide for Diana through the human world. So he wasn't really allowed to Chris Pine it up. He wasn't allowed to be fully like a lighthearted, lovable guy. But now that he's in this new environment where he's the one being guided, he's having all the fun in the world. And seeing that he still has some of that like hero aspect buried within him, and he's also just a goofball sometimes. Like, he's willing to fight and protect people alongside Diana. However, he still picks up a sword and is ready to do it. Like that. Well, they all have guns. Like this, the mental disconnect is hilarious for me. I think he acts out fantastic. There's not, unlike with Gal Gadot, I don't think there's a scene where Chris Pine misses. Like, there's some scenes where I'm like, Miss Wonder Woman, I feel like you could be doing better with this one. But other than that, I think he just slaps. He just slaps. And the thing is, he's not. The wild thing is, he's more so a plot device in this movie than a actor in the plot. Like, that's all Chris Pine really is. And Do I talk about that more later? I feel like I'm gonna hit on it a bit now. Wonder Woman, Wonder Woman's cost in this movie for her wish, it almost, not almost, it didn't fully make sense to me. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, is this really what she wants? Is this what defines Wonder Woman? But you know what? I'll talk about that more in the plot section. In terms of our heroes, they either did a good, passable to good job or a good to great job. So, great job to both our heroes. Let's move on to the antagonists. Now, the thing about our antagonist is I think that Pedro Pascal steals the show. Let me quickly address Kristen Wiig as Cheetah. Now, context. I heard Wonder Woman 1984 was a thing. That was it. I didn't look up anything afterwards. I didn't do any of that. Mainly because I know nowadays, due to how movies work, they'll typically tell you the entire plot in trailers or behind the scenes stuff. So if I'm ever interested in a movie, like I actually want to watch it at some point, I will not look up anything about it. So I had no, and this is, and I still haven't looked up any Wonder Woman 1984 promotional material. So I don't know. If Cheetah was featured in there, I had no idea. I didn't know. So I didn't. When Kristen Wiig was introduced as what she was, I was like, Barbara Minerva. Like it clicked in the back of my mind that, oh, Barbara Minerva, that name sounds too special not to be something. And it clicked there. And like, I think even before the movie, I knew Barbara Minerva was Cheetah, but since I've read and done so little research on Wonder Woman stuff, it never even clicked for me. So I'm going throughout this movie and I'm watching her and I'm like, all right, I guess she's our secondary antagonist. Like, she starts off as a really nice person, and this is almost the flip side. I think Kristen Wiig does a fantastic job acting out like the regular human being. Like, when she's still just a normal person who is going through normal people's stuff, I'm like, oh yeah, I buy this 100%. This is great, and I think she does a fantastic job for all that. However, the moment when she becomes the villain or a secondary antagonist, I'm like, this it? Is this it? Is this what we're doing? Is this what we're doing? And I feel like I'm gonna talk about the movies being afraid to commit to a lot of stuff. However, I feel like as predictable as her motivation flip was and her cost was, I think it's fine. I just don't think that Kristen Wiig in particular could do like the Cheetah part of the Cheetah role, and I think that's my main issue with it. I don't think it was properly cast. I know this is a complaint that a lot of people have, but I feel like almost, see, it would have been weird to have Kristen Wiig be one part of Cheetah and then another woman play another part of Cheetah, but I think it would have been better because Kristen Wiig acts fantastic for the first part of the film, but when she gets to being the villain, that's when I go like, man, brain, I think it's time that you check out. You can go rest now, because it didn't do it for me. But that may just be me. And I'll think about that. However, our other villain, Pedro Pascal as Maxwell Lord, slaps harder than the freight train I got hit by the other week. I'm telling you, he hits different. I don't know. See, all I know Pedro Pascal from is that he's really good in The Mandalorian. And I haven't even watched The Mandalorian. I just heard everybody and their mama's mama praise him in The Mandalorian. And I can respect that. So I knew Pedro Pascal was a good actor. However, off the top of my head, I just knew his name. I couldn't recognize him off the top of my head. So I didn't know that he was Maxwell Lord. All I saw was this great guy chewing up the scenery, having a wonderful time, enjoying himself, being the most delicious of evil villains possible. And I love that. I think as a person who loves watching villains do their thing, I think he did a fantastic job. I don't have any complaints for him. He filled the exact role he was, and to me, he was the only one out of all our characters, except for maybe Chris Pine and Steve Trevor. He's the only one out of all the actors that fully went into the fact that this is a superhero movie about a magic wish-granting rock. It's time to have fun. Like, he's the only one that truly hit me and was like, yes, I know what this movie's about. I completely understand what this movie's about. Now it's time for me to go wild. And he did. And he had a fun, I could tell he was having fun making this movie. Other times, I was looking at other actors, I'm like, are you really here for the fun? Like, are you enjoying yourself? I feel a little bit constrained. But yeah, he slaps. He slaps harder than that freight train. I'm telling you, there's nothing that I could say to improve him. There's nothing I could say there's no need to recast him. He does a great job. And, you know, with that being covered, let's move into the plot. Now, here's the thing. I already have a rather high suspension of disbelief. If you tell me something and you stick to it, then I'm perfectly fine. I will not criticize your work if it sounds crazy, because fantasy, superheroes, all that mess is crazy in the first place. So all you had to tell me was that this rock right here, it grants powers. It grants wishes. That rock do whatever you want. It is Dwayne The Rock Johnson, and it can grant all your wishes. Just tell me that. Tell me that, show me that, and I'm good. What the movie didn't have to do was go out of its way to try and explain The Rock and make The Rock this present thing, give it all this lore and history, all this rant, because it drags the movie down. This movie is, I believe, 2 hours and 41 minutes long. Let me fact check myself real quick. And that is on being built stupid, because it is 2 hours and 35 minutes long, aka too long. I think this film is filled with stuff that doesn't need to be there, but the refusal to just commit, like, I feel like no one except for Pedro Pascal and Chris Pine fully committed to the insanity that is this movie, because the way that they kept trying to rationalize The Rock and all of its special blah 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 blah. Just tell me it's a magic rock. That's all I need. It's The Rock. Like, I can deal with that. However, I think the movie failed to commit there. But for the plot itself, I think the cost for our respective characters and their wishes, not all of them made full sense to me. Pedro Pascal's makes sense. Maxwell Lord's makes sense. He values his health and his superiority above all others, so of course his cause for becoming the Dreamstone would be his health and body. That makes sense to me. Wonder Woman losing her strength. Is her really her highest possession, her highest value, her strength? Like, I understand it's a very important part of her, as it would be. You know, you're a super strong person, you probably would value your strength just a bit. However, I feel like it doesn't make sense for the Wonder Woman that we established in the last movie, and I feel like Barbara Minerva's cost would have made more sense for her. Like, actually, I think Wonder Woman losing her compassion and then Steve being there to pull her back from it would have been a way better motivation, because seeing Wonder Woman get weaker, and that's the thing, you know, it's bad when you and the people you're watching the movie with are constantly going back and forth on whether or not that was the cause. Like, is she losing her powers? Is she not? Like, she's doing some superhuman things, but she isn't. I don't know, the group of people I was watching with, we were just confused. And I feel like having Wonder Woman get slowly more brutal not only would have allowed Gal Gadot to do more of what Gal Gadot's good at, but also it would have just been a more realistic thing for her to lose that doesn't seem so it's weird to say violent, but like, it's such a strange motivation for Wonder Woman, the kind and compassionate hero that the DCU has set her up as. Not even just the DCU, Wonder Woman 1 set her up as, for her main thing that she values most above all others being her ability to harm others and her superhuman ability. I don't know, I just found it weird. And I also found it weird that Steve came back in some other guy's body. I'm like, what? Why? What was the motive? Was there any reason? And that's the thing. The plot of this movie very much has me asking, what's the reason this is here? Like, I'm pretty sure if I took a knife to a good third of this movie, I could cut it out, pace it way better. And this is coming from a person who's a professional editor. This is just from a guy who watched enough movies and can tell that this movie's badly paced and isn't confident in itself. Like, in my mind, chop out the beginning scene. In my mind, chop out the Rock explanation scene. In my mind, chop out the travel, some of the Rock scenes of Pedro Pascal, I keep calling him Pedro Pascal, Maxwell Lord, getting his power. Chop some of that out. Like, just remove bits of it. And just chop out the cheetah fight at the end, because no one but the thing is, I feel like this movie, it tries to do so many things at once that it fails to do many of the things it wants to do. It wants to be a story of care between father and son, but it doesn't have enough time for that. It wants to be a romantic comedy between Wonder Woman and Steve Trevor, but it doesn't have enough time for that. It wants to be the fall of a human being to a monster of an animal, but it doesn't have time for that. The movie has so many diverging plot threads that loosely interconnect through The Rock, but The Rock isn't strong enough to hold the foundation. It's not the Dwayne The Rock Johnson. It's just Johnson Dwayne. It's not what we needed in this movie to make the movie work and function as well as it really should have functioned. And that's sad, because I'm like, yeah, an interesting concept. Me, I'm cool with altering reality. That's just me. However, I feel like you were trying to do a bit too much. And another thing, Barbara Minerva's motivation. Why? Who? What? Where? Like, her losing her humanity and compassion. I can get that to a degree, but where does I want to be like Wonder Woman lead to I want to be an apex predator leading to I want to be a human cheetah? Huh? Like, the mental disconnect for me was like 5 years back. Like, I have no idea what that led to, and that's the thing. I'm just confuzzled, and that's what left me in the movie a lot. Like, I was questioning way more things in this movie than I really should have had to. Like, I was questioning, wait, is Steve in another man's body? And I was questioning, so is did Barbara kill that man? I was questioning, does Wonder Woman have her powers or not? I was questioning so many things that really the movie made me question. Like, if you had just brought Steve back to life, we wouldn't have to worry about that weird power thing. If you just, I don't know, change Barbara's cost, motivation. I'm not even sure what you change it to, but change it to something else. I don't know. They just didn't make, it's too corny. But at the same time, here's the thing. I think the reason I have such a problem with this movie is that it doesn't know whether to flip into full corny superhero movie or semi-serious superhero movie. It isn't sure whether it wants to be a Thor Ragnarok or an Infinity War. It doesn't know. So it goes for that awkward middle ground, and the awkward middle ground doesn't work. Like, I hate to say it. I mean, it can work, because really a lot of good Marvel movies are awkward middle grounds. Even Infinity War itself. However, those movies had the better writing and the better pacing and the better understanding of how to tell a good narrative in order to dull the impact of that knife that's stabbing into your side, trying to make you laugh as it's showing you heavy-weighted consequences. Like, it's that flip, it's that 50-50 shot that Wonder Woman fails to hit. And I think the length of the movie doesn't help it, because there's so much in this movie that if you removed, the story would be more succinct, and I feel like it could commit to a tone better. The movie constantly flips tones, and I'm like, why? Pick one. Just hold on one narrative and keep to that. But due to the lack of that, none of the narratives hit. Like, none of the narrative. The only thing I fully bought was the Wonder Woman and Steve Trevor romantic relationship. That's the only thing I bought. That's mainly because these two actors play off each other really, really well. But did I buy Maxwell Lord giving up everything for his son? No. Did I buy Barbara becoming Cheetah? No. Did I buy Wonder Woman losing her powers because that's the most important thing to her? No. There's that, like, for such a long movie, it gets me to believe in so few things that I'm wondering what was the point of having so many things. I feel like if you cut this movie down to simply a battle between ideals of who should be helped and how they should be helped between Wonder Woman and Maxwell Lord, maybe with a little bit of Steve Trevor in there if you really, really want him there, then I feel like that would have worked. However, I don't know. I didn't write the movie. I didn't direct the movie. So that's all I can say. If I had to give this movie a rating, I would say it's probably a 6 out of 10. I know that sounds low, but it's not failing. Like, it does its job well enough, but I think there are too many issues with the plot not being taken seriously enough by itself. None of the actors seemingly being able to commit outside of like 2. Everything being just so weirdly paced and junky and thrown together as it is. I can't give the movie a full proper score of anything above like a 6 due to how it is. But I'd say if you have HBO Max, watch it anyway. I don't know. I think another movie is gonna come out regardless. I think it did just fine. So I'd say just if you're bored, fast forward through it. That's it. That's all. That's the only recommendation I have. But that's all. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please wait before I do that, before I hit the outro. Thank you guys so much for 300 subscribers. I feel bad because I didn't mention it earlier. I kept telling myself, mention it in the video. But jeez, we hit 300. I'm losing my mind. Didn't think this was gonna happen, but thank you guys so much. And yeah, back to the outro. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is That Guy with the Pencil, writing off.